let's talk about carnivore now. So I want to talk about carnivore and animal-based way of eating for healing and my personal experience with the carnivore and a carnivore-ish diet. So if you are new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Kelly. If you're returning, welcome back. And any of the videos that you like, please like, and then also leave comments. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. So, okay, let's talk about carnivore. So from my perspective, there are a lot of different ways people talk about carnivore, but a carnivore diet in my mind means that you only eat things that come from an animal. So dairy's fine because it comes from an animal. I personally do not eat dairy, except butter. I do eat butter, but I cut dairy about 5.5 months ago. One, to see how that would help me with my personal health goals, but I realized that I had a, what would I call it? Allergic addiction, maybe just an addiction, but it felt like an allergic addiction situation with dairy. So I've cut that. So I eat 100% carnivore diet. I started the carnivore diet from paleo. So I was eating a whole foods paleo or paleo-ish because I would add dairy and take out dairy and add dairy and take out dairy. So I was eating a paleo-ish diet for many years and had a lot of healing, gut healing, health benefits from that. And then, but I still had some lingering health issues, a lot of headaches, skin issues, and just I would get these really kind of allergic reaction type histamine intolerance, basically, from different foods. And that was really frustrating and trying to figure that out. And so I decided to go on a carnivore diet and eat 100% carnivore for 3 months and see what happened. And that was in May of 2020. And it is now February of 2022. And I still eat an animal-based. Right now I'm 100% carnivore because I feel my best. And so one of the most surprising things to me, since I taught gut health from this perspective of lots of veggies and all the plant foods and for your microbiome, it was very surprising to me to have so much healing from this way of eating. But I advocate for an animal-based way of eating because that's where I see the most healing personally and professionally. So as a nutritional therapist, I'm always advocating that people find the best way of eating for them, whatever that might look like, for food freedom. But I think it's very rare for people to come in and really go, I want to only eat animals because I think that's going to be healing for me. Usually that is not how people have been taught. It's not what we think. And so a lot of people don't realize how healing that can be. So I actually developed a pro-healing diet. It's really focused on gut healing. It takes out all the gut detractors, but also is an animal-based way of eating. So what can I tell you about carnivore? So people will argue honey, no honey, since it's regurgitated from a bee. Technically, it's an animal. So I think it depends on you. It depends on your body and what works for you, what doesn't work for you. I'm for food freedom. So I'm going to want you to have as much variety as you can tolerate. But when you're on a strict carnivore diet, you are eating only things that come from an animal. So any kind of meat that you want, beef, chicken, duck, any kind of fowl, I guess, turkey, or any kind of ruminant meats like the lamb, elk, beef, those kinds of things. Pork, you could eat any of those meats, eggs, cheeses. If you want to do some raw dairy, lots of people do really well on raw dairy. Some people tolerate dairy really well and other people really don't. A lot of carnivores still have coffee. I never started drinking coffee, so I didn't have to quit coffee, but I haven't had caffeine in years and years. So that was pretty easy for me, but that's pretty difficult for some people to transition. So You do not have to be that strict. You can also do an animal-based, where you're really eating the majority of your food is coming from an animal, but you still have some plants that work in your body and are good for you. So, which, by the way, good for you may not be good for anyone else. It could be a healthy food. We could all agree maybe that it's a healthy food, but if it doesn't act like either fuel in your body or medicine in your body, but is more, feels more like it is poison in your body, then it doesn't matter if the rest of the world says that it's healthy if it doesn't work for you. So a carnivore diet can be very healing in and of itself, but it's also the ultimate elimination diet. So when people come to me and they're like, I think I'm allergic to everything, it just doesn't matter what I eat, I don't feel well, carnivore is a great option. Also for people, I did not realize that I was a food addict. I knew I was an addict. I'm an addict in recovery. So it shouldn't be that surprising that I just moved it to certain foods, but it's very particular for me and me. It's very particular of what kinds of things become a problem. But for food addicts, a carnivore diet can be heaven, absolute freedom. I mean, more freedom than you could ever imagine around food. So that can be very healing for people, particularly people with binge kinds of eating or food addictions, even if it's just one thing like ice cream or chocolate or something that you just struggle with from a food addiction perspective. It can be very helpful to go on a carnivore diet. I am hoping to transition to more of an animal-based, but I feel so good on a carnivore diet that I'm not sure about that. But again, I'm for food freedom, so I'm hoping for flexibility for you and me. But there are lots of resources now for a carnivore diet, and there are more and more of us that are nutritional therapists that are educated and know about the carnivore diet. If you want some support, I will link some of my favorite resources in the description, so that might be helpful for you. But of course, if you have any questions, leave comments. I will happily answer what I can from my perspective, because I am now pretty far into this journey that I can say that I feel so much better. And I think that's really what you've got to pay attention to. How do you feel? You know, what resonates with you? Is this something that you want to try? If not, that's okay. There are other ways of healing. If it does resonate with you, then really giving it a good try. I will tell you that my first 3 months, I had a really hard time giving up condiments like dips. I'm a dipper. I like to dip. And so that was kind of more challenging than I thought it would be. And now I don't even think about that. But so there are different kind of things along the journey. And it's best if you have lots of self-compassion, no matter what way of eating that you pick, in this whole journey of trying to figure out the best way for you to eat and feel good. Lots of self-compassion and lots of trial and error. You know, people are always asking me, what's the way of eating? There is no one way for all people. Even in the carnivore world, some people do really well on chicken and fish and kind of sticking to and eggs maybe, and other people do really well on the ruminant meats and sticking to beef and lamb. And ruminant meat, you know, walks on 4 legs, eats grass, those kinds of animals. So it just depends. It really, you've got to do some trial and error.